Carter Jensen is going to be a big part of the Royals' future. So let's talk about him next on Locked On Royals.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are tuned into another edition of Locked On Royals in the Locked On Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. That is at JOHNYJ_15. And you can listen to us on wherever you download your podcast. That can be Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit the follow button and subscribe. For you first-time listeners wondering how this channel works, well, in the season, I bring you episodes Monday through Friday, 30-minute episodes in length, and that usually continues until about January. Then we drop down for about a month and a half to 3 episodes a week. But also in season, you can count on the Locked On Royals postcast, which is hosted by Chance Lebo, and he goes to you live for about 15 to 20 minutes after each and every game. Before we get started, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off on your first purchase. As always, questions and comments can be posted below on this video. If you're looking forward to a Mailbag Friday, just leave your question below here and title it Mailbag Friday. But I just got back from Kauffman Stadium, perhaps for the final time this season. Not really sure if I'm going to be able to make it out to a game this weekend. Certainly won't be able to go to the series finale tomorrow as I'll be at work. That'll be a first pitch of 1:10 p.m. Central Time. But I was fortunate that for maybe my game finale, my finale of the 2025 season, I got treated to a really fun and entertaining game with lots of runs that were scored. You had to come back late. The young guys for the Royals certainly came through in big moments. We'll talk about one of them here in the first segment. But overall, I would say that, it still is important for this team to play inspired baseball, for these young guys to get a taste of meaningful baseball in September. And until they're eliminated, these guys can keep telling themselves that it's not over. They can still rattle off multiple wins in a row and put themselves in a good spot entering that final series of the year in Sacramento. At least they can have that extra drive. We were down in the clubhouse tonight, talked with Adam Frazier, and that's something that he said was, we're not done just yet. We're not mathematically eliminated, so we can just take it day by day and game by game. And so for a guy like Carter Jensen, who was a surprise candidate to be called up for the September call-ups, I thought it absolutely came out of left field. I had answered it a few times on our Mailbag Friday that I just didn't see a need to unless he was going to come up and play every single day. And when he first was called up in September, he wasn't playing that often. He would maybe, get to DH. He might come in late in the game. He might pinch hit. In fact, his big league debut was a pinch hit appearance against Kenley Jansen and the Angels. And that was in a game where the Royals were down multiple runs as well. But now he's gotten this opportunity to be in the lineup every single day. Same thing goes for Jack Caglione. And I believe that was kind of the Royals' sign, even though I just said they can tell themselves it's not over. But it was their sign of, all right, the more important thing to close out this year is, yes, to finish with a winning record, but to get these guys some meaningful reps before we go into the offseason. And I have just been wildly impressed with Carter Jensen really over the last 3 to 4 games. The numbers weren't quite there early on. He was performing kind of in the way that I expected him to. He had an average that was below 100 at one point. He still was walking a good bit. That's always been a big part of his game. Talked to Mac Quatrero tonight. He said that when he found out about him in higher, when they first started really seeing him play at the professional level, that was his most glaring attribute, I would say. It was so out there for everyone to see that he had a polished approach. He was not afraid to take the walk, to work the count, and a walk is as good as a hit. The average wasn't there, but the on-base numbers were. And that's just stayed with him throughout his entire minor league career. And at the big league level, pitchers are going to try to exploit that. And going into next year, there will be more of a book on Carter Jensen. Therefore, there will be a different approach as to how to get him out. But I watched Jack Caglione make his major league debut back in June. I have watched him this entire season. I have watched him in Northwest Arkansas. I have watched him in Omaha. I've watched him in Kansas City. there were a lot of pitches that he was swinging over the top of. There were a lot of pitches that he wasn't swinging at, and they were just dotted on the black. I mean, it was a 22-year-old rookie getting exposed at the big league level. It's not as easy as it came to him in AA or in AAA. And for Carter Jensen, there was that aspect in the first 10 at-bats of his career. But now you are really starting to see him settle in and spit on some pitches that 22-year-old rookies, they just swing over the top of. He's working into full counts. But even in those full counts, he might foul off a couple, and then he's spitting on a pitch that's maybe 2 inches off the plate or a little bit lower in the zone. He's able to take that back foot slider from right-handed pitchers. He's able to leave some of those pitches down the way in facing lefties. And I just have loved the overall approach from what we've seen. And it's only further cemented my belief that this kid can be a big part of your team next year. I absolutely believe that you can go into 2026 expecting him to be on the opening day roster. Now, what role is he going to have? I would start it off with the Freddie Fermin role, which was you're playing 2 to 3 times a week. Like Salvador Perez will be your catcher. He will be your opening day catcher. But this can also be a 2026 season where you can treat Salvador Perez more like a DH and try to really harness that last little bit of baseball that Salvador Perez has in it. I don't see him playing 5 more years. I see him being able to contribute at this level for about a year and a half to 2. That's just my personal belief. The good news is I feel they are in really good hands when it comes to Carter Jensen. He's a local product. I believe he can be elite behind the plate. He's got the power. He's got the raw power there. He's got the bat speed for it. He can hit to all fields. It's not just the 30 plate appearances I've seen of him. I've been high on him for a while now because he's progressed at each and every level. And the fact that the Royals had him in big league camp 2 years ago when I was down there, when he was 20, that said a lot with a guy that was in high A Quad Cities joining the big league clubhouse, getting to work with some of these guys that were longtime veterans in the major leagues. So that to me showcased, okay, they have some big plans for him. And right now he is the one to take over that catching role from Salvador Perez. Next year, though, this can be an increased role for him. Right now, it's easy to put him in the lineup every single day and say, let's just DH Salvi, or when Salvi's behind the plate, we're DHing Carter Jensen. Get him as many at-bats as you possibly can. Next year, though, as early as April, maybe even the end of March, there's going to be starts for him. There's going to be multiple times where he can go behind the plate. And if he can settle into that Freddie Fermin type role, well, then midway through the season, maybe I do want to see him in the lineup every single day. Maybe Salvador Perez becomes your full-time DH. The upside is absolutely there, though. And as much as I can sit here and talk about how important it is to get that middle of the order bat, to get that outfield bat, so much of 2026 hinges on Jack Caglione's ability to become what we all expect him to, or at least the optimists expect him to. And I believe a big part of it is Carter Jensen becoming what the Royals and a lot of people view that he can be. Because if Carter Jensen can be an above-average player behind the plate, man, it makes it so much easier to work Salvador Perez in the lineup, give him days off, and prolong his storied career. If Carter Jensen is overmatched next year and he can't handle the Freddie Fermin role, then you're forced to play Salvador Perez nearly every single day. You want Salvi to still hit 30 home runs next year, or 25 to 30, driving over 85, 90 runs next year? Carter Jensen's a big part of that. Because if he can catch 110 games next year and Salvi catches the remaining 70, or what would it be? Not 70, excuse me. It'd be 52 games. That just shows you how great my math is. He catches 52 of them. Maybe 110 is overselling it with Carter Jensen. How about he catches 90 games? Salvador Perez gets the rest. I really feel that you can put Salvi in the DH role more than half the time next year. and Carter can give you that upside behind the plate. But if his bat can really play up, if what we're seeing, these glimpses, these little flashes of what he can be, the Royals can have a big-time piece for that lineup. I'm not thinking Carter Jensen's going to OPS north of 1,000 next year like he is right now. But we saw the way that Jack Caglione struggled early on in his career and still does struggle. Carter Jensen, I really thought was going to be that overmatched type in September. We weren't going to see him that much. But now that he's getting these reps and against good big league arms, he doesn't look overmatched. He looks very poised. He looks very comfortable. And he just continues to cement my belief that he's going to be a big part of the future. And where I once thought maybe middle of next year, end of next year, or 2027, he can be a big part of this future now. And I absolutely expect him to be on the opening day roster in 2026. We'll take our first break of the show. When we come back, though Seattle lost tonight, they are an absolute buzzsaw and are going to be a nightmare for someone in October. I feel the Royals can play off that going into next year. I'll tell you why next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can listen to us on wherever you download your podcast. Want to tell you about one of our sponsors tonight in PrizePicks. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. As I'm watching this game at Kauffman Stadium from the press box and just get this vantage point of both teams, it was so unbelievably evident how confident that Seattle team is and will continue to be unless they lose 5, 6, 7 in a row. And so often we hear in baseball, especially when it comes to October in the postseason, it's all about getting hot at the right time. You get hot at the right time, you can be that 7 seed, and you can go on a ridiculous tear. What would it be? The 6 seed, excuse me. You can go on a tear like no other. The Royals in 2014, hot at the right time, and they just swept their way to the World Series. Like, it can happen. Nobody back when the 2014 postseason started picked the Royals to get past even the Athletics at that point. The Athletics were slumping, but they got past the Athletics in that unbelievable and memorable wild card game at Kauffman Stadium. But then not many people gave them a chance against the Angels, and then not many people gave them a chance against the Orioles. You get hot at the right time, though, you could beat just about anybody. And I thought that Seattle, when they took that lead in the 8th inning, they're thinking in that dugout, we can beat just about anybody. And they've been telling themselves they could win the World Series for a long time now. And the way they've constructed that team has made them a potential nightmare for somebody. Now, let me be very, very clear. Just because you're playing great baseball in September does not equate to you just dominating in October. The stage is different. As loud as the crowd was tonight, the 19K that were at Kauffman Stadium, and I tip my cap to you if you're still showing up and you're supporting this team and you're being loud. It was a fun atmosphere tonight. It'll be a much different atmosphere if they go to Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park or Minute Maid Park or Daikin Park, whatever it is now, or Comerica in October. It's just different. You are going to be living and dying with every single pitch. And I so wish the Royals could have been a part of it this year. It's just not going to be in the cards. As I'm watching this team, though, I see the way they're assembled, right? You've got your star, right? And though Cal Raleigh has stolen the spotlight, the star of that team is Julio. Julio Rodriguez is the star of that team. And the numbers are not going to jump off the page like Cal Raleigh's does when you hit 60 bombs and driving over 110. But Julio is the guy, at least when I watch Seattle, I go, that's an unbelievably, freakishly talented player. The Royals have it in Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, every Royal fan should know how good J-Rod is for Seattle. And then they've got their thumper, though they call him Big Dumper. The Royals kind of have that with Salvi and Vinny Pasquantino combined together. Then you've got your supporting cast there. Like, I would say that maybe J.P. Crawford mirrors Michael Garcia a little bit. I'm not trying to get too much in the numbers, but how you can build some of these players. The rotation, it's elite with Seattle. And they were so unbelievably healthy this year, which is why they've been able to have this tremendous run so late in the year. Their bullpen, though Matt Brash was not good tonight, and he imploded and gave up 4 runs, which cost them the game, they have a great back end where you've got Andres Munoz, you've got Matt Brash, you've got Gabe Spire, the former Royal. It's endless. Like, there is so much depth, and they've got so much power in the back end of the bullpen. And the way they're assembled, they just are going to be a nightmare for somebody if you get into that best of 5 or that best of 7. Now, Seattle, they're trying to win the American League West so that they can host somebody for, that wild card series. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a runaway for them. They've won 10 in a row, and yet the door is still open for Houston, who just swept the Rangers. Now it's kind of down to Texas, or excuse me, down to Seattle and Houston of who's going to win the West. The other one will just be that wild card team. They're just a buzzsaw, though. They're absolutely a buzzsaw. And at the deadline, they said the pieces are there. We're not firmly in a playoff spot. The pieces are there, though, and we're going to go out there and bring in Josh Naylor. We're going to go out there and get Eugenio Suarez, and we are going to make sure that this lineup has no let-up in September. Last year, they went out and got Randy Arozarena. It wasn't enough when it was all said and done, but they had the intention of keeping around for multiple years. And I go 1 through 9 in that lineup. It wasn't even their A-plus lineup tonight, and it still was so tough to put away, right? Reagans, who we're not really going to talk too much about tonight. We'll probably circle back to it in the final segment. But Cole Reagans tonight, I thought, really made one mistake, and lo and behold, it's against a guy they brought in who struggled a lot. Eugenio Suarez was 0 for his last 32 coming in the night, and he goes 4 for 4. That's baseball. The Royals going into the offseason, though, had to take a page out of this book because, yes, that rotation is what makes them so tough to beat at home. But if you pair a strong rotation and then give or take 3 really good back-end bullpen guys, you have a lineup like this. And Seattle went from, a bottom offense last year that was still in it for a majority of the year because of that rotation and bullpen. Hence why I say the Royals need to take a page out of their book and kind of mirror them. And they just added to this group. They counted on a couple of guys to bounce back and turn into studs or turn studs into stars. Cal Raleigh hitting 60 home runs basically is a big reason why. Randy Arozarena turning into what he's been or kind of recapturing what he was in Tampa Bay. That's been huge. J.P. Crawford certainly has that power for a shortstop. And then they've just gotten that, Dominic Canzone is somebody that had 3 home runs last night. It's the little depth pieces there. And for the Royals, if you're going into the offseason, yes, it's going to be tremendous if Vinny Pasquantino goes from a 30 home run guy to a 45 home run guy. If Michael Garcia can go from a 15 home run guy to a 25 home run guy. Like, that's going to improve your offense if it happens. To have that little bit of depth, though, to highlight 3 powerful back-end bullpen arms, you've got your rotation, right? They've pretty much only started 5 guys all season long, and not all of them have been tremendous. They have not been as good as they were last year. There have been some guys that have taken some steps back. But to change your identity a little bit, right? Seattle was a team that last year, it was like, you are going to get a hit off them, but they're not going to get a hit off you. They're going to try to win all these games 3-2, 2-1, 1-0. That's how they're going to try to win baseball games. And that is a successful way of doing it if you have some star pieces that you can really build around. Seattle, though, looked at who they had and said, we're definitely happy with what we have at the top half of our order. We're definitely not happy with what we have at the bottom half of the order. And though they've had this impeccable, clean bill of health this year, they still realize that we're not going to be a playoff team. We're not going to be a championship level team if we do not help out this offense and change some things around, change around the philosophy. And though they've been much better at home this year than on the road, the Royals know what their identity is. They know that pitching is so important, but it can't be the only thing you shine at. You can't go into every single year saying, well, our pitching, if they're healthy, can take us a long way. While that is important, we have seen that Seattle has this ability to go on a 10-game winning streak because it's tough to score off them. It's tough to score off their bullpen. Maybe you can X out tonight. I know that it goes against my point with Matt Brash. But look at how this game went tonight. The Royals led 3-0, 5 batters in. And then Bryce Miller just batting down the hatches, kept the Royals to 3 runs. The bullpen did its job, and they just chipped away, took the lead. No, they couldn't close it out, but they won a lot of games like that. And the Royals were able to do that a few times last year. To have an offense, though, where you feel like, man, there's no let up, that's a really scary lineup. That's when you go from a playoff team with high hopes to we should expect championships. And for the Royals, that lineup's not there yet. I look at Seattle's, they added 2 big-time bats to that lineup, and it just became frightening. Where last year you look at that Seattle lineup and you go, there's a few guys you got to worry about. You get past them, though, I'm not worried about the bottom of the order doing damage. Doesn't that sound pretty familiar? That this Royals team, I'm sure when Seattle faced them, they go, take care of Bobby, take care of Vinny, take care of Garcia, and take care of Salvi. We will roll the dice with everybody else in that lineup. And yeah, sometimes you can have what Adam Frazier did tonight and Carter Jensen and Caglione coming through. That can happen. But next year, if the Royals have, 5 to 6 guys that are above league average bats, that's great. That is absolutely something I would sign up for in a heartbeat. But if you get to that deadline next year and you're kind of where Seattle was, you're a playoff team, not a cemented spot though, that feels like the year you can say, let's add 2 more huge bats to that lineup, kind of put the chips in a little bit and see where that takes us. Because to have a lineup with 8 above league average bats, now that's scary. That's a lineup that we saw just torch the Royals in game 1 and found a way to come back in game 2. And surprisingly, it was the bullpen that let things up. I'm not saying they are the model for championship baseball, but for smaller market teams, if you've got the right pieces around you, don't be afraid to continue to add and add and add to that lineup to make them even better. You've got the depth. You've got the star power. I'm going to say it again. They are going to be a nightmare for somebody. Whether you like Seattle or you don't, that's a scary lineup. That's a scary rotation. I mean, they won 10 games in a row, and it didn't matter now. I thought at one point the Royals playing poorly on the road dictated their season. Even if the Royals, or I meant to say on the last road trip, even if they played fine baseball on that road trip, it wouldn't have mattered much because the Mariners just continued to keep winning. I'm fascinated to know where they'll end up in October. There's some other really great teams in there, but the way they are designed, the way they are built, they've got a really good chance to represent the American League in the World Series. We'll take our final break of the show. When we come back, the Royals unfortunately have to shut down another arm, only this time it's a young arm that I wish could have gotten just a start or 2 before the season wrapped up. But Ryan Bergert doesn't look like he's going to start again until 2026. We'll talk about that next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. 2 sponsors I want to tell you about, beginning with Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. And you can link all of your accounts in minutes and see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off for your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Also want to tell you about Gametime. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. But actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. And Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by Gametime Guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off on your first purchase. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, and download Gametime today. As we were in the post-game presser out at Kauffman Stadium, we got official word from Matt Quatrero that Ryan Bergert in his bullpen session today felt a little bit of forearm tightness, so he's going to go on the injured list. Michael Lorenzen, who did pitch tonight, just one inning. He is going to start on Friday now against the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll see how that rotation all shakes out. I'd imagine we'll see Noah Cameron because Stephen Cole is going tomorrow. And then I believe that would set up Michael Wacha to throw on Sunday maybe, unless I'm missing somebody. I feel with Seth Lugo, who had the back flare-up again, and Ryan Bergert now going on the injured list, that should be who's all starting the rest of the way. And then Cole Reagans, of course, who started tonight. Really liked what I saw. He seemed amped up. Fastball was playing up to 98, had 9 whiffs in the first, only went 3 2/3. If you were wondering about that, if you had questions why he was pulled so early, he's still on a pitch count. He's still ramping up. Talked to him after the game, asked if he thought that at any point his season was going to be done, but he seemed confident he was always going to return. The rehab process felt good. He felt strong, and it was great to see that version of Cole Reagans back. He wasn't flawless. He gave up the 2-run bomb to Eugenio Suarez. That's just an arm, though, they've missed all season long. And even when he was healthy, you could tell something was off. The velocity wasn't quite there. The command certainly wasn't there. But to not have a strikeout pitcher like that, an ace like that, man, it hurt them in some of those rough patches where you just want to be able to turn it over to a guy like that who can shove every 5th day. So very excited to see him likely start in Anaheim and then get one more start in Sacramento before the season comes to a close. When it comes to Ryan Bergert, though, it doesn't surprise me too much that he had this forearm tightness flare up. You're just hoping that it's precautionary. You shut him down for the season, go rest up, go heal up, and be ready to go spring training day 1 in February when the Royals show up to surprise Arizona. But this doesn't surprise me for a few reasons. When he was in San Diego, the inning workload was not there. I mean, you definitely loved the stuff that he possessed. He had the 80 grade type fastball. The command wasn't quite there. I mean, he really would grind through 3 2/3, 4 innings, maybe 4 1/3, a lot of pitches, sometimes a lot of strikeouts, but a lot of walks. And then when he got to Kansas City, the command got better. He worked deeper into games, and that, kind of can lead to something like this late in the season. It's nothing that Bergert did wrong. It's nothing that the Royals did wrong. If he's got a low pitch count working deeper into the games, then you leave him out there. And the Royals definitely got more length out of him. But for a rookie pitcher and somebody that didn't have the consistent start every 5th day from March 28th, whatever opening day was, to now, you can run into this. It's why with Noah Cameron, when he was at his inning limit, or when he had never reached this type of inning workload before, you have him skip a start, he rests up a little bit, comes out a little bit rusty in that first start back, but now has looked like vintage Noah Cameron in his last 2 starts. For Ryan Bergert, there's just not enough time left to have him skip a start or 2 and then get back out there. But we saw against Cleveland, we saw against Philadelphia, the Ryan Bergert that had looked so good in a Royals uniform just was no longer there. And when you've got a rookie pitcher, one as young as him, they're not used to throwing this many innings at the big league level. Now, the hope is in the offseason, you keep him stretched out, and the same way they kept Chris Bubic stretched out, and you can work deeper into the season. You're hoping it's not the same result as Chris Bubic, where despite having great numbers, he was an all-star. He didn't end up pitching the last 2 to 2.5 months of the season. You want to have more length there, but I believe the Royals having the depth that they do, you can be more creative next year. You always cross your fingers to have the 5 guys you open up the season with in your rotation make 30-plus starts. We just know it's not a reality. We know that you're going to have to count on your number 6 guy, your number 7 guy, and your number 8 guy, and that's where I'd pencil in Ryan Bergert. I believe he's this team's number 6 starter, and he's going to be making starts next year. It's important to stay stretched out. It's important to stay healthy. Injuries like this, though, does it not just define the 2025 season for the Royals? The guys they've needed to stay healthy haven't been. You acquire Ryan Bergert and Stephen Kolek from San Diego to make up for the injuries you had in the rotation. And now the guys that you were trying to give relief to, they've wound up on the injured list, and the guys that you brought in have also wound up on the injured list. There's 10 games to go in the season, I believe, or 9 games to go in the season. Just want to get to the finish line here, have a winning record, and then everybody can just take a deep breath. They can relax a little bit. They can get healthy. And then you're going to have some great competition in spring training. That is the part I am most excited for. When you look at this rotation, I want to know who battles it out and wins a job out of camp. There's going to be so much competition there. Ryan Bergert's going to be one of those guys. But it is good to know that maybe there is a direct cause as to why there were some severe struggles against Philadelphia and Cleveland, and not just that, well, they're playoff teams, they're good teams. You could tell something was off with Ryan Bergert, that he just didn't have sharp command anymore. The velo wasn't really there. He didn't have a great grip of some of those secondary offerings. And now we've got that answer, that in throwing a bullpen session, a little bit of forearm tightness. He's going to go on the injured list. Michael Lorenzen's going to start on Friday. And Ryan Bergert can just go into the offseason, stay stretched out, get healthy, and that needs to be the focus for him. But I still feel very encouraged about what we saw from him coming over from San Diego, and I've got pretty big expectations for him going into 2026 with Kansas City. That'll do it for tonight's episode of Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I've been your host, Jack Johnson. Thank you for making Locked On Royals your first listen every day. For your second, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale and find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Tomorrow, we'll recap the series finale in Seattle and look ahead to the final 3 home games of the regular season against the Toronto Blue Jays. But until then, you take it easy, Kansas City.